Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tarati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Pando Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशतरिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासारि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल. Okay, so today we continue with the chapter 33. It is called Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Sankasura killed. So, once upon a time, the cowherd men of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, desired to go to Ambikavana to perform the Shivaratri performance. The Rasa Leela was performed during the autumn, and after that, the next big ceremony is Holi, or the Dola Yatra ceremony. Between the Dola Yatra ceremony and the Rasa Leela ceremony, there is one important ceremony which is called Shivaratri, which is especially observed by the Shaivites, or devotees of Lord Shiva. But sometimes the Vaishnavas also observe this ceremony because they accept Lord Shiva as the foremost Vaishnava. But the function of Shivaratri is not observed very regularly by the Bhaktas or devotees of Krishna. Under the circumstances, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that the cowherd man headed by Nanda Maharaj once upon a time desired. That means that they were not regularly observing the Shivaratri function, but that once upon a time they wanted to go to Ambikavana out of curiosity. Ambikavana is situated somewhere in the Gujarat province. Ambikavana is said to be situated on the river Saraswati, yet we do not find any Saraswati river in the Gujarat province. The only river there is Savarmati. In India, all the big places of pilgrimage are situated on nice rivers like the Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Narmada, Godavari, Kaveri, etc. Ambikavana was situated on the bank of Saraswati, and all the cowherd men and Nanda Maharaj went there. They very devotedly began to worship the deity of Lord Shiva and Ambika. It is the general practice that wherever there is a temple of Lord Shiva, there must be another temple of Ambika or Durga, because Ambika is the wife of Lord Shiva and is the most exalted of chaste women. She doesn't live outside the association of her husband. After reaching Ambikavana, the cowherd men of Vrindavan first bathed themselves in the river Saraswati. If one goes to any place of pilgrimage, his first duty is to take a bath and sometimes to shave his head. That is the first business. After taking bath, they worship the deities and then distributed charity in the holy places. Hare Krishna.
So I just got a question. Like they take a shower and then they shave, huh? I thought you have to shave first and then take a bath. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So, according to the Vedic system, charity is given to the Brahmanas. It is stated in the Vedic sastras that only the Brahmanas and the sannyasis can accept charities. Cowherd men from Vrindavana gave cows decorated with golden ornaments and beautiful garlands. The Brahmanas are given charity because they are not engaged in any business profession. They're supposed to be engaged in Brahminical occupations, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, namely, they must be very learned and must perform austerity and penances. They must they must they must not only themselves be learned, but they must also teach others. Brahmanas are not meant for brahmanas. Uh, Brahmanas are not meant for brahmanas alone. They should create other brahmanas also. If a man is found who agrees to become a brahmana's disciples, he he is also given a chance to become a brahmana. The brahmana is always engaged in the worship of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, the brahmanas are eligible to accept all kinds of charity. But but brahmanas received excessive charity. They are to distribute it for the service of Vishnu. In the Vedic scriptures, therefore, one is recommended to give charity to the brahmanas, and by so doing, one pleases Lord Vishnu and all the demigods. The pilgrimage, the pilgrims take bath, worship the deity, and give in charity. They're also recommended to fast one day. They should go to a place of pilgrimage and stay there at least for 3 days. The first day is spent fasting, and at night they can drink a little water because water does not break the fast. Cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, spend that night in the bank of Saraswati. They fasted all day and drank a little water at night. But while they were taking the rest, a, a great serpent from the nearby forest appeared before them and hungrily began to swallow up Nanda Maharaj. Nanda began to cry helplessly, "My dear son Krishna, please come and save me from this danger. This serpent is swallowing me." When Nanda Maharaj cried for help, all the cowherd men got up and saw what was happening. They immediately took up burning logs and began to beat the snake to kill it. But in spite of being beating burning with burning logs, the serpent was not about to give up the swallowing Nanda Maharaj. Wow, these are strong cowherd men.
That's true.
Burning logs. At the time, Krishna appeared on the scene and touched the serpent with his lotus feet. Immediately upon being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, and the serpent shed its reptilian body and appeared as a very beautiful demigod named Vidya Vidyad Vid, Vidyadhara. His bodily feature is so beautiful that he appeared to be worshipable. There was a luster and effulgence emanating from his body, and he was garlanded with a gold necklace. He he offered obeisances to Lord Krishna and stood before him with great humility. Krishna then asked the demigods, "You appeared to be a very nice demigod, to be and to be favored by the goddess of fortune. How is it that you perform such an abominable activities, and how did you get the body of a serpent?" The demigods began to narrate the story of his previous life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My dear Lord, he said, in my previous life I was named Vidyadhara and was known all over the world for my beauty. Because I was a celebrated personality, I used to travel all over in my airplane. While traveling, I saw a great sage named Angira. He was very ugly, and because I was very proud of my beauty, I laughed at him. Due to this sinful action, I was condemned by the great sage to assume the form of a serpent. One should note here that before being favored by Krishna, a person is always under the modes of material nature, however elevated he may be materially. Vidyadhara was a materially elevated demigod, and he was very beautiful. He also held a great material position and was able to travel all over by airplane. Yet he was condemned to become a serpent in his next life. Any materially elevated person can be condemned to be abominable species of life if he is not careful. It is a misconception that after reaching the human body, one is never degraded. Vidyadhara himself states that even though he was a demigod, he was condemned to become a serpent. But because he was touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, he immediately came to Krishna consciousness. He admitted, however, that in his previous life he was actually sinful. A Krishna conscious person knows that he is always the servant of Krishna. He is most insignificant, and whatever good he has done is by the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master. The demigod Vidyadhara continued to speak to Sri Krishna. Because I was very proud of the exquisite beauty of my body, he said, I derided the ugly features of the great sage Angira. He cursed me for my sin, and I became a snake. Now I consider that this curse by the sage was not at all a curse. It was a great benediction for me. Had he not cursed me, I would not have assumed the body of a serpent, and would not have been kicked by your lotus feet, and thus freed from all material contamination. In material existence, four things are very valuable: to be born in a decent family, to be very rich, to be very learned, and to be very beautiful. These are considered to be material assets. Unfortunately, without Krishna consciousness, these material assets sometimes become sources of sin and degradation. Despite Vidyadhara's being a demigod and having a beautiful body, he was condemned to the body of a snake due to pride. A snake is considered to be the most cruel and envious living entity, but those who are human beings and are envious of others are considered to be even more vicious than snakes. The snake can be subdued or controlled by charming mantras and herbs, but a person who is envious cannot be controlled by anyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My dear Lord, Vidyadhara continued, now since I think I have become freed from all kinds of sinful activities, I am asking your permission to return to my abode, the heavenly planet. This request indicates that persons who are attracted to fruitive activities, desiring promotion to the comforts of higher planetary systems, cannot achieve their ultimate goal of life without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the less intelligent want to achieve material benefits and therefore worship different kinds of demigods, but they actually get the benediction from the demigods through the permission of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Demigods have no power to bestow material profit. Even if one is attached to material benediction, he can worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and ask him. Krishna is completely able to give even material benediction. There is a difference, however, in asking material benediction from the demigods and from Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material benediction, but when he actually achieved the favor of the Supreme Lord and saw him, he was so satisfied that he refused to accept any material benediction. The intelligent person does not ask favors from or worship the demigods. He directly becomes Krishna conscious, and if he has any desire for material benefit, he asks Krishna, not the demigods. Vidyadhara, awaiting permission of Krishna to return to the heavenly planet, said, now, because I am touched by your lotus feet, I am relieved from all kinds of material pangs. You are the most powerful of all mystics. You are the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the master of all the devotees. You are the provider of the planetary systems, and therefore I am asking your permission. You may accept me as fully surrendered unto you. I know very well that persons who are constantly engaged in chanting your holy name attain release from all sinful reactions, and certainly persons who are fortunate enough to be personally touched by your lotus feet are freed. Therefore, I am sure that I am now relieved from the curse of the Brahmana simply by being touched by your lotus feet. In this way, Vidyadhara got permission from Lord Krishna to return to his home in the higher planetary system. After receiving this honor, he began to circumambulate the Lord, and after offering his respectful obeisances unto him, he returned to his heavenly planet. Thus Nanda Maharaj also became relieved from the imminent danger of being devoured by the snake. The cowherd men who had come to execute the ritualistic functions of worshipping Lord Shiva and Ambika finished their business and prepared to return to Vrindavan. While returning, they recalled the wonderful activities of Krishna. By relating the incident of Vidyadhara's deliverance, they became more attached to Krishna. They had come to worship Lord Shiva and Ambika, but they became more and more attached to Krishna. Similarly, the gopis also worship goddess Katyayani to become more and more attached to Krishna. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that persons who are attached to worshipping demigods like Lord Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and Chandra for some personal benefit are less intelligent and have forgotten the real purpose of life. But the cowherd men, inhabitants of Vrindavan, were no ordinary men. Whatever they did for Krishna. If one worships demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to become more attached to Krishna, that is approved. But if one goes to the demigods for some personal benefit, that is condemned. Haribo.
Hare Krishna Pranjal Prabhu Dandavat Pranam Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Okay, so after this incident on a very pleasant night, both Krishna and his elder brother Balarama, who are inconceivably powerful, went into the forest of Vrindavana. They were accompanied by the damsels of Vrajabhumi, and they began to enjoy each other's company. The young damsels of Vraja were very nicely dressed and anointed with pulp of sandalwood and decorated with flowers. The moon was shining in the sky, surrounded by glittering stars, and the breeze was blowing, bearing the aroma of mallika flowers, and the bumblebees were mad after the aroma. Taking advantage of the pleasing atmosphere, both Krishna and Balarama began to sing very melodiously. The damsels became so absorbed in their rhythmical song that they almost forgot themselves. Their hair loosened, their dresses slackened, and their garlands began to fall to the ground. At that time, while they were so much absorbed, almost in madness, a demon associate of Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets, appeared on the scene. The demon's name was Sankasura, because on his head there was a valuable jewel resembling a conch shell, just as the two sons of Kuvera were puffed up over their wealth and opulence and did not care for Narada Muni's presence. This Sankasura was also puffed up over material opulence. He thought that Krishna and Balarama were two ordinary cowherd boys enjoying the company of many beautiful girls. Generally, in the material world, a person with riches thinks that all beautiful women should be enjoyed by him. Sankasura also thought that since he belonged to the rich community of Kuvera, he, not Krishna and Balarama, should enjoy the company of so many beautiful girls. He therefore decided to take charge of them. He appeared before Krishna and Balarama and the damsels of Vraja and began to lead the girls away to the north. He commanded them as if he were their proprietor and husband, despite the presence of Krishna and Balarama. Being forcibly taken away by Sankasura, the damsels of Vraja began to call the names of Krishna and Balarama for protection. The two brothers immediately began to follow them, taking up big logs in their hands. Don't be afraid, they called to the gopis. We are coming at once to chastise this demon. Very quickly they reached Sankasura, thinking the brothers too powerful. Sankasura left the company of the gopis and ran for fear of his life. But Krishna would not let him go. He entrusted the gopis to the care of Balarama and followed Sankasura wherever he fled. Krishna wanted to take the valuable jewel resembling a conch shell from the head of the demon. After following him a very short distance, Krishna caught him, struck his head with his fist, and killed him. He then took the valuable jewel and returned. In the presence of all the damsels of Vraja, he presented the valuable jewel to his elder brother Balarama. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 33rd chapter of Krishna. Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Sankasura killed.
Haribo. This was amazing story.
Evil.
Okay, Haribol, we can read one more because it's not so long. Who wants to continue?
I can continue over here.
Haribol.
The gopis' feeling of separation. The gopis of Vrindavana were so attached to Krishna that they were not satisfied simply by the rasa dance at night. They wanted to associate with him and enjoy his company during the daytime also. When Krishna went to the forest with his cowherd boyfriends and cows, the gopis did not physically take part, but their hearts went with him. Because their hearts went, they were able to enjoy his company through strong feelings of separations. To acquire this strong feeling of separation is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and his direct disciples and disciplic successions of Goswamis. When we are not in physical contact with Krishna, we can associate with him like the gopis. Through feelings of separation, Krishna's transcendental form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage are all identical with him. There are 9 different kinds of devotional service. Devotional service to Krishna in feelings of separation elevates the devotee to the highest perfectional level and to a level of the gopis. It is stated that the Srinivasa prior to the 6th Goswami that they left the material opulences of government service and princely status of life and went to Vrindavana, where they lived just like ordinary merchants, begging from door to door. But they were so much enriched with the gopis' feelings of separations that they enjoyed the transcendental pleasure at every moment. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri, he was in the role of Radharani. Feeling the separation of Krishna, those who are in the disciplic succession of Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya should also feel the separation of Krishna, worshiping his transcendental form and discuss his transcendental teachings, his pastimes, his qualities, his entourages, and associates. The spiritual master should enrich the devotees to the highest level, the highest devotional perfection. Feeling constant separation while engaged in the service of the Lord is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The gopis used to discuss Krishna amongst themselves, and their talks were as follows. My dear friends, one gopi said, do you know that when Krishna lies on the ground, he rests on his left elbow, and his head rests on his left hand? He moves his attractive eyebrows while playing his flute with his delicate fingers, and the sound he produces creates such a nice atmosphere that the denizens of the heavenly planets who travel in space with their wives and beloved stop their airplanes, for they are stunned by the vibration of the flute. The wives of the demigods who are seated in the plains then become very much ashamed of their singing and musical qualifications. Not only that, but they become afflicted with the conjugal love, and their hair and tightened dresses immediately loosen. Very well. Yeah, here is said that Krishna lies on the ground, he rests on his left elbow. There was one question about this, which side should we sleep on in the group? Could this be applied to that question?
Yeah, doing the LSD left side down, like helps with digestion.
Yeah,
So
here is
it's very
that I see this on some script, like from book. I saw this just when we talked about this.
evil.
And his head rests on his left hand. It's clear descriptions how sleeping is, how the supreme person sleeps. This is the supreme way of sleeping, I think.
Evil.
Rivo. Another gopi said, my dear friends, Krishna is so beautiful that the goddess of fortune always remains on his chest, and he is always adorned with golden necklace. Beautiful Krishna plays his flute in order to enliven the hearts of many devotees. He is the only friend of the suffering living entities. When he plays his flute, all the cows and other animals of Vrindavan, although engaged in eating, simply take a morsel of food in their mouths and stop chewing. Their ears raise up, and they become stunned. They do not appear alive, but like painted animals. Krishna's flute playing is so attractive that even the animals become enchanted, and what to speak of ourselves. Another gopi said, "My dear friends, not only living animals, but even inanimate objects like the rivers and lakes of Vrindavan also become stunned when Krishna passes with peacock feathers on his head and his body smeared with the minerals of Vrindavan. With leaves and flowers decorating his body, he looks like some hero. When he plays on his flute and calls the cows with Balaram, the river Yamuna stops flowing and waits for the air to carry dust from his lotus feet. The river Yamuna is unfortunate like us. It does not get Krishna's mercy. The river simply remains stunned, stopping its waves just as we also stop crying out of frustration for Krishna. In the absence of Krishna, the gopis were constantly shedding tears, but sometimes when they expected that Krishna was coming, they would stop crying. But when they saw that Krishna was not coming, then again they would become frustrated and begin to cry. Yeah, this is just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was a child and they chanted Hare Krishna, then he stopped crying because Krishna was there. But when Krishna went away and there was no chanting of Hare Krishna, then he started to cry again. Like similar. Go because he's in the mood of like Radharani, and Radharani is he's the topmost gopi. So they were crying. So he was also crying was when Krishna was not there, because Krishna is the sound incarnation, the vibration. The Mahamantra is the sound form. So Krishna was not there in the sound form, so they were crying, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and gopis.
That's a perfect connection.
Vimbo. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the origin of all Vishnu forms, and the cowherd boys are all demigods. Lord Vishnu is always worshipped and surrounded by different demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and others. When Krishna traveled through the Vrindavan forest or walked on the Govardhan, Akrura saw Balaram turn into Sheshanaga and Krishna turn into Mahavishnu. Oh dear Damodar, dear Madhava, Krishna was going. The audience was not very satisfied because the wrestlers did not appear to be equally matched. But were they not satisfied because they thought they were too powerful, or Krishna and Balaram? Were they seeing that the wrestlers are too overpowered, or
Yeah, the wrestlers are too overpowered.
yes,
That's why.
but really it was the opposite.
Yeah, just imagine such a bodybuilder versus such a small boy,
Yeah.
16-year-old.
And Kamsa is there, like, oh, it's so. Simply from the strokes of his fist comes lost his vital force. Yeah, Krishna is angry here and scary. And he's frightened. No, how this boy is so angry.
Looked like he's about to lose his life right there.
Yeah, he just realized that he was beaten.
He throw his hand up. I give up. I give up. Referee, stop the game. I give up. The florist begged from Lord that he might remain his eternal servant.
Wow. I actually like this picture.
Yes, Prabhu, here's so many nice flowers. Okay, Haribo. Whose turn?
Hare Krishna. He was accompanied by the cowherd boys. While walking, he played his flute just to call his cows. Just by his association, the trees, plants, and other vegetation in the forest immediately became Krishna conscious. A Krishna conscious person sacrifices everything for Krishna. Although trees and plants are not very advanced in consciousness, by the association of Krishna and his friends, they also became Krishna conscious. They then want to deliver everything, whatever they have, their fruits, flowers, and the honey incessantly falling from their branches. When Krishna walked on the bank of the Yamuna, he was seen nicely decorated with tilaga on his head. He was garlanded with different kinds of forest flowers, and his body was smeared by the pulp of sandalwood and tulsi leaves. The bumblebee became mad after the treasure and sweet nectar of the atmosphere. Being pleased by the humming sound of the bees, Krishna would play his flute, and together the sounds became so sweet to hear that the aquatics, the cranes, swans, and ducks, and other birds were charmed. Instead of swimming or flying, they became stunned. They closed their eyes and entered a trance of meditation in worship of Krishna. One Gopi said, "My dear friend, Krishna and Balarama are nicely dressed with earrings and pearl necklaces. They enjoy themselves on the top of Govardhana hill, and everything becomes absorbed in transcendental pleasure when Krishna plays on his flute, charming the whole created manifestation. When he plays, the clouds stop their loud thundering out of fear of him. Rather than disturb the vibrations of his flute, they respond with mild thunder and so congratulate Krishna, their friend. Krishna is accepted as the friend of the cloud because both the cloud and Krishna satisfy the people when they are disturbed. When the people are burning due to excessive heat, the cloud satisfies them with rain. Similarly, when people in materialistic life become disturbed by the blazing fire of material pangs, Krishna gives them relief. The cloud and Krishna, having the same bodily color also, are considered to be friends. Desiring to congratulate its superior friend, the cloud poured not water, but small flowers and covered the heads of Krishna to protect him from the scorching sunshine. One of the gopis told Mother Yashoda, "My dear mother, your son is very expert among the cowherd boys. He knows all the different arts, how to tend to the cows, and how to play the flute. He composes his own songs, and to sing them, he puts his flute to his mouth. When he plays, either in the morning or in the evening, all the demigods like Lord Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Chandra bow their heads and listen with great attention. Although they are very learned and expert, they cannot understand the musical arrangements of Krishna's flute. They simply listen attentively and try to understand, but become bewildered and nothing more. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Another gopi said, "My dear friend, when Krishna returns home with his cows, the footprint of the soles of his feet with flag, thunderbolt, trident, and lotus flower relieves the pain the earth feels when the cows traverse it. He walks in a stride which is so attractive when he carries his flute. Just by looking at him, we become lusty to enjoy his company. At that time, our movements cease. We become just like trees and stand perfectly still. We even forget what we look like." Krishna had many thousands of cows, and they were divided into groups according to their colors. They were also differently named according to the color. When he would return from the pasturing ground, he would find all the cows gathered. As Vaishnavas count 108 beads, which represents the 108 individual gopis, so Krishna would also chant 108 different groups of cows. When Krishna returns, he is garlanded with tulsi leaves. A gopi describes him to a friend. He puts his hand on the shoulder of a cowherd boyfriend and begins to blow his transcendental flute. The wives of the black deer become enchanted upon hearing the vibration of his flute, which resembles the vibration of the veena. The deer the deer come to Krishna and become so charmed that they stand still, forgetting their homes and husbands. Like us, who are enchanted by the ocean of the transcendental qualities of Krishna, the she deer become enchanted by the vibration of his flute. Another gopi told Mother Yashoda, "My dear mother, when your son returns home, he decorates himself with the buds of the kunda flower, and just to enlighten and gladden his friends, he blows his flute. The breeze blowing from the south pleases the atmosphere because it is fragrant and very cool. Demigods like the Gandharvas and Siddhas take advantage of this atmosphere and offer prayers to Krishna by sounding their bagels and drums. Krishna is very kind to the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, Vrindavan, and when he returns with his cows and friends, he is remembered as the lifter of Govardhan hill. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the most exalted demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva come down to offer their evening prayers, and they accompany the cowherd boys in glorifying the qualities of Krishna. Krishna is compared with the moon, born in the ocean of the womb of Devaki. When he returns in the evening, it appears that he is fatigued, but he still tries to gladden the inhabitants of Vrindavan by his auspicious presence. When Krishna returns, garlanded with flowers, his face looks beautiful. He walks into Vrindavan with a stride just like the elephant and slowly enters his home. Upon his return, the men, women, and cows of Vrindavan immediately forget the scorching heat of the day. Such descriptions of Krishna's transcendental pastimes and activities were remembered by the gopis during his absence from Vrindavan. They give us some idea of Krishna's attraction. Everyone and everything is attracted to Krishna. That is the perfect description of Krishna's attraction. The example of the gopis is very instructive to persons who are trying to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. One can very easily associate with Krishna simply by remembering his transcendental pastimes. Everyone has a tendency to love someone. That Krishna should be the object of love is the central point of Krishna consciousness. By constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and remembering the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, one can be fully in Krishna consciousness and thus make his life sublime and fruitful. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 34th chapter of Krishna, the gopis' feelings of separation. Hari Bol.
Bol, Hari Bol.
Bori, bori, bo.
Yes, this was a really beautiful chapter. Why comes a sense Akrura for Krishna? What is gonna happen?
Oh, that's the next chapter?
Yes, Prabhu, this is for tomorrow. No spoilers. Hari Bol.
Keep it confidential.
Okay, Hari Bol, 6 Astakam prayers.
Evil.
Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagninirvapanam shreyah kairavachandrika vitaranam vidyavadujivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
Punjab Prabhu.
Rivo.
What happened?
Okay. Nam nam akari bahudan niti sarvasaktis takta vitani amitas varnidikala itai jishi baki. Don't say for me. You show me how to
Haribo.
Rnadapi Sunichana, Tarorapi Sahishnana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Hasadahari.
नतनन्न जनन्न सुन्दरीं कवितां वाचगतीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवता
अयि नन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवां बुधौ कृपा तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया
Nayanam Galat Ashutaria, Vatanam Katgaruda Kriya, Pulaki Nichitamba Bukata, Tavanama Grihe Pavishati.
Yugaidam Nimeshana, Chakshusha Pravrishaitam, Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Gavinda Virahename.
आस्तिस्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टमां दर्शनां मर्महतां करोतु वा यदा तदा वा विददाति टम्पटु प्राणोदस्तत एव न परः
Haribo. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
Oh my Lord, you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna. Yeah. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the strong in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
Govinda, feeling your separations, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful.
Haribo, Sri Siksastakam ki jai.
Jai,
Harinam Sankirtan ki jai.
jai,
Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai,
jai,
Ki jai.
Jai,
jai,
Nanda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai,
jai,
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai.
jai,
Jagat Guru Shla Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shla Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Jai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari
Haribo!
Bol.
Haribo.
Haribo.